Hello, hi, my friends. How are you? My name is Natasha. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I am really just having another one of those it's not like it's a bad day. It's just like blasé day. I don't know. I feel like something is definitely a tinge off, but like, again, cyclically with the women's sometimes experiences, this is not uncommon for this time of the month for me. But I definitely feel like a drain. I feel like a little bit of just a little bit of blah. I don't know what it is. I'm still going through and doing all my normal methods, my normal mornings, and I'm still finding joy in many things. It's just something like in my energy level is just not clicking. It's just not there. I feel like heaviness in my eyes. Like I just need good sleep, and I feel like I'm just not, I don't know, something is not it. So like even this morning I went to the gym and I had a great dance. I had a good time, but I still kind of just felt like few seconds off. And then of course there's like all this pollen in the air. So I was like, okay, let me take some, maybe it's like the pollens or whatever, like kind of like affecting me and I didn't realize it. So I took that, but then I ended up like, I was like, I just want to be outside for a little bit. So I ended up like doing all this kind of like gardening and weeding, which isn't great for like if I'm out like having a pollen experience, right? Like allergies, but it just felt nice to be outside. It wasn't like sunny, but it wasn't like really foggy or really overcast. It was just kind of like, it was like almost like the day was blasé even. And so like, but then I like did some planting and some flowers and, cleaned up some pots and moved some succulents around. And, so like that felt good. Like I always love like gardening this time of the year because like the soil is wet, things are movable, they're not like in full bloom, and it just always feels like a good time to kind of propagate and move stuff and see how it goes. So anyways, I did all that, and of course, like I was like, here, I had all these plans of things I need to do. Gardening was not on the list, but here I was doing that. And I ended up like stopping and talking to one of my neighbors for a little while. And I've been thinking about her a lot and her family, because her husband recently, they've been married for over 60 years, and he recently, his health got so bad, like he's over 90 years old, but that, they were needing more of assistance than, the kids who work and, that she could give. And so they ended up like putting him in like an assisted, housing kind of thing. And I guess he fell ill there. So now he's actually in the hospital. And I was like, how is that? Like, how is he? Like, it's got to be so strange to, spend, they've been here for 8 years now. And, it's got to be so strange to spend that time apart, right? Like, you have almost every meal together, you travel together, you have children, you do all these things. And, you go, I don't know what their, sleeping arrangements are or anything, but let's say perhaps they, sleep in the same bed or whatever. And then you're not anymore. That's got to be really like jarring to the system. I don't know. It just seems so crazy. So, I really want to know, like, how was she? How is he? And she just kept repeating, like, this is the most difficult phase of life. Like, this is just it's so challenging. And, it was so interesting to talk to her and hear, her perspective, and she just, always grew up as a person who, as she said, like stuffed down her emotions. Like her sister caused trouble, and so she was just the good girl, and just stuffed every emotion, stuffed everything. And still, like, those habits, those default settings are still in there. And so it's like she doesn't really even process some of the things that are going on now. It's just this. And then I started talking about my journey, and she was like, then changed the subject and was like, you look great. Like, I'm so proud of you. And of course she's seen me, like I said, she's been here for over 8 years. So she's seen me in my progress. and my transformation. And we talked throughout it. Even during COVID, we'd mask up and just kind of go over and just be outside and be like, listen, we were both like, we just need to be outside a little bit. And we'd sit on our own driveways and reading books and things like that. And I said I've done nothing different of these last recent, but I have recently heard a lot of feedback from people. And I said, what I really accounted to, I'm like, I know it's gonna sound so crazy, but I really accounted to like going back and doing that inner child healing, like all of those wounds, all of these things that have been like emotional armor that I've attached to me. They're like barnacles stuck to me that are trying to, I didn't talk about these things. I didn't release it. I didn't process. I didn't know to, like, it wasn't like I thought about it and chose not a lot of times. It's just, we didn't, I didn't. That wasn't the kind of life I had grown up living. Or had been exposed to or anything. So now that like holistically my body is figuring out like, this is what I need. This is it. And like I say, like I go back and I kind of address or heal something, and it is transformative. My driving experience still is, it's like a full 180. Like it's a whole different person driving in that car. I was telling my daughter, I'm like, you gotta go for a car ride with me. It's actually a pleasant experience. Like I feel pleasant. I feel I feel just so at ease and so at peace in the car now, where I didn't even realize how amped up and how anxious and how high my blood pressure was every time I was getting in the car. I mean, granted, sometimes I was having fun and listening to music or listening to audiobooks or whatever it may be, but still there was this underlying thing, because I had this association that I was trapped, I was stuck, I needed to get out of there. Like people were trying to hold me back, and none of these things were true. My crazy filter had, created this whole illusion of what was going on the road for some reason, and none of that was true. Like none of these people knew me and were intentionally trying to harm. Like none of this was true, and I know it, like when I say it, like no, but something genetically, something in my DNA, something in my soul just made me feel like that every time. So that's why I say, like, even sometimes when I'm doing my daily dose of dysregulation, when I do my shower, like sometimes I'll like to like kind of make that mind body kind of connection. I'll sometimes be like, I'll realize that anxiety, like when I'm standing there and I'm like, I just don't want to get in this cold water right now. Like I'm warm and I'm cozy and I don't want to do this. I don't, like I don't want to do it. And when I'm standing there and thinking like that, I realize like I connected, like sometimes being in the presence of Chris, I feel that same thing. I feel this anxiety, this stress, this angst, this I have to do something I don't want to do. And it's not that I don't want to be around him. It's I just don't want to have the confrontations and the argument and the criticism and the judgment and the the things. And it's like, okay, and then I get in there and I do it. And again, like I'm now trying to practice, like, okay, so when I'm around him, I can just practice my breathing. I can practice my stuff, because that's what I can control. I can't control his reactions to me or how he, his temperaments to me. I cannot control that. So learning how to do that and like connect it to other situations, which is super helpful, which is again why, even though I despise the daily doses of dysregulation in the shower, they're very beneficial for me to be able to heal these situations where I get so, like defensive and shut down, or, all these things, or yell or whatever it is, because I'm not accustomed to figuring out a healthy way to get out of that dysregulation, how to take that power back and regulate myself and be like, it's okay. We're going to breathe. Like that's what we're going to do here. And this is really tough and it's painful. And you're not enjoying this, but you're getting through it, and it's okay. We're just gonna breathe, and we're gonna breathe, and then it'll be over, and everything will be okay. Like, and so it really helps me in however words I need to tell myself. And once I get in, I'm like, okay, I got it. I could do this today. But I'll tell you what, when I take that night shower, I'm like, every time I'm like, thank you. I'm so glad it's the night shower, so I don't have to put the cold water on myself right now. I'm ready to unwind and get into bed. And so another reason I can only come up with, because like I respect where my body's at. I'm gonna go. Like I said, thankfully I've already got my steps done. I've did 2 dance workouts, but again, my second workout too, and it was like, part of me felt like I was going through the motions more than enjoying it. And there was a part of me that almost didn't go, because they broadcast, live broadcast Dylan's, his experience where he was able to interview the U.S. men's national team player. And then when he plays for, his name is Lucas De La Torre. Luca De La Torre. Lucas. I don't know. Luca. I should know this. Luca De La Torre, I believe it is. I know a Lucas who's from that same city, so this is where it makes my brain go crazy. But I think it's Luca De La Torre, and he, so his interview it aired today, and so it was like live, and so I wanted to watch it, but I ended up like listening to it on the way over, because I had heard through the door or whatever, like I could hear his side, but I couldn't hear the whole thing. So he carried himself very well for an 18-year-old. I was like, I can't imagine. Like, I would have been so nervous and so scared and stumbling on my words. So I'm super proud he did that, and has that experience to reflect on for forever, right? So I was that, and my daughter was here, and I just was like, I wasn't in the mood to drive, but I ended up going anyways. And at first I was like regretting it, because the class was like delayed by like 10 minutes because there was audio issues. And so I'm like, I came all the way here for this. Like, okay, whatever. It's okay. But it went fine with today, because I was not at 100% anyway. So having 40 minutes instead of 50 minutes of dance probably was a very grateful thing. Which, although now explains, because I was like, why was I not done with my steps yet? Well, if I wasn't dancing for 10 minutes, that makes sense, because I like kind of know exactly how many steps I'm going to get about per class. So I usually try to get it done. So when I came home tonight, I was like, darn it, I'm not done with my steps. So I had to do that before I could tape, and now here I am. So I'm excited to be here again. I don't have that same kind of energy and everything. The only other thing I can think of, that's kind of going on for me, is the anniversary, which I don't even like to say anniversary, because I always think of anniversary as something great and beautiful and something to be celebrated. But it is the anniversary, for the lack of better words. I'm going to look and see, is there an alternative for that? But anniversary for the passing of my uncle. And so that, like, again, it's beautiful in the way that it brings reflection. I think of him, I share a story for him and stuff, but it's not necessarily something I'd want to celebrate. And it is also something that, it's just kind of sad. It carries, it has a weight on me. And then it happened to be, my mom told me early on this morning that her neighbor had died today. And so it's just kind of was just like, I don't know. And like I said, the weather really like depicted kind of how I felt today, which wasn't bad. I still found things, like I said, I think the gardening really was nice, because, it brought fresh of air. Like, I was so inspired by the second one. I ended up making a second one, of course. It's in the kitchen for now, so maybe it'll end upstairs. But like, I just love the little tiny arrangements in the house. Like, it just brings a little bit of life and fresh air in. I don't know. So that was nice. And then I also, which was super exciting, I did go ahead and purchase my domain name, which is exciting. But then again, like, I had 2 ideas in mind, and oddly the second one was gone now. And then I was like, well, was it ever really there? I was kind of confused. And then I kind of had like the sadness that it was gone, even though I had already opted to not go for it, or at least like, it was like, this like definitely pushes me into this one, which was my original first choice and the one that all the kids were like, pick that one. But then while I was on there, there was like this third option that came up and I was like, oh, that would be pretty good too. And so I didn't get that one, but I got the other one and I'm like, I just got to go. Like I made this decision. Like I you know, again, this is like, I have that perfectionism in some ways that I'm like, it was something of permanency, like, but I guess it's not, so I can always change it. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then my daughter was showing me Canva, which again, I've never used, but she was like, oh, it's so easy and da 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 da. So I was like, okay, cool. Then I can start to learn some of that. So as some projects leave, right? So like my application was submitted, you know, things like that. As those some things leave, other things come on, right? Like now I have like more. I'm getting to like taking baby steps every day. And even it was interesting in the interview, I was like, see, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, you know, my son had asked the player, like, what advice would you give like an aspiring footballer, or, you know, that's what they call it, soccer players, you know, America, we call it soccer, but everywhere else it's called football. What advice? And he was like, just do what you can like a little bit every day, you know, just get better every day. And I'm like, yes, this is everything I'm saying. Like, this is the foundation of the glow up method, is just like getting a little bit better every day and showing up as your better. Like, yes, I am not today's dancing and today's life overall, the number I showed up, I may be at a 6. Okay. And maybe I naturally live at like a 9 or 8.5 or something, or a 10. I don't know. I live pretty high. So a 6 may be super high for somebody else, but like me going 90% in a workout is not my baseline. But today that was fine enough. Like that was good enough. I'm still better for it. Do you want to know why I'm better? It's because I still went. And that's the thing, is like, here are the baselines. Here are the things we're going to do every day. And some days it's going to be really tough. And some days it's going to be really easy. And then there's going to be days that it's just average, right? And it's in those days when it's really tough, or just tough at all, or you're feeling blasé, but you show up anyways, that's where the resilience is built. That is where your power comes from. You know, it's learning from the mistakes. It's having that to say, like, when I do it and I'm tired, like there's a sense of accomplishment that is very different from when I do it and I'm fully energized. You know, like when I do it, I'm fully energized. It is like infectious. It's you know, very different verbs to describe, or adjectives, or whatever they would be called, to describe it, right? Like it's fulfilling, it's all these things. But when you're tired and you're doing it anyways, I know, especially like if I'm running in my room, I know 2 inches from me is my bed, and I can say, nope, not today. I'm gonna, you know, go take my shower. I'm not gonna film, and I'm gonna just go to bed. And that option's always available to me. I can do that. I just choose not. So making that choice, even though it's really difficult, you know, almost always when you're doing it, you start to feel a little bit better. At least you feel a little bit more accomplished. You know, like I say, maybe a challenge like yesterday where my feet were like so sore and everything was just tired, you know, it didn't want to do it. And I get it. And I have to listen to my body. And I do. If I really couldn't have, I would have stopped. But being able to do it gives me this other sense of just accomplishment and confirmation. And, you know, again, like I think today, the today me version of me thanks the yesterday version of me for doing that, because it made today wake up. Like when I woke up this morning, I woke up a lot more energized. I woke up a lot more grateful. I didn't have any remorse, like, I should have did it, you know, or whatever. And there have been plenty of days, especially when I first started doing this, I cut it to the wire. I was like, oh no, I have, you know, 1 hour before midnight and I need to get this in. And it was like the mad dash panic. Actually, that is how I started running, because I was like, there is no humanly possible way I'm getting this many steps in 1 hour unless I up my speed. And And it was just like, I really can't imagine not closing my rings. Like, I can't imagine, and I know it sounds something so silly, but like that was super important for me in the beginning. To see that thing and see the rings close and say, all right, I did that. And even just to get myself an Apple Watch, I had to be like, okay, you need to, it was like something to work up to. It was like, if you can work out for 10 days in a row, you can, like if you can walk, just get 10,000 steps for 10 dadays in a row. I'm not taking like intense workout or anything. I was like, you can reward yourself by getting an Apple Watch, because I really wanted one. And it was so nice to have. I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't utilize it for any of the functions it has beyond, the health app and the, I do like the music that's on there. It makes it convenient, but still I half the time will reach for my phone to like change a song or something like that. But yeah, I did that. I even today did my weights, and I had a lovely lady come up and she was like, I haven't seen you. I haven't been able to do the Zumba class because I've been so busy on my weekends that I'm like, I need to get things done. But she's like, we miss you. And that was very sweet of her. And she's like, but whatever you're doing, you're killing it. I was like, listen, I have no clue what I'm doing over here on these weight machines. I was like, but I'm doing it. And so I think that that's what counts. I'm not doing it. Nothing feels like it's hurting, like beyond what like is hurting, like, I mean, I'm doing weight. So it's not like it's not hurting, I don't know if that's necessarily the word. It's not like hurting, but it's not like it's like challenging, I should say. So if I was feeling pain or feeling nothing, I'd be like, okay, something is off. I'm either doing this very wrong or I'm doing this too light or something like that. And I'd make some adjustments. And, I go with my little circuit, like just down the row and then out the door. Like that's how I go. And I kind of watch people, like if somebody does a machine and I can happen to see, just to kind of check myself. But everybody does things so uniquely there. I don't think that there's necessarily a right or wrong. So, I mean, I've had a very like physical day, and I got to do some things that I really was excited about. I got to get some things off my mental and physical to-do lists, but I'm really excited tonight to go to bed, and I'm hoping tomorrow I'll wake up a lot more refreshed because I have another big day tomorrow. I got to get my packing done. I have to figure out how, I'm going to be doing this on my trip, and I'm actually very grateful that I'm now like down to be like, okay, we'll do this for 30 minutes versus an hour, because I have to squeeze in my steps and I have to squeeze in this. And, I'm now in a different environment, which is fun and exciting sometimes, even though it's just, around soccer. I'd love to be like exploring, Vegas for honestly, the buffets and the shows. Like that's my jam. That's what I would, and the people watching. Oh my gosh. Yes. And if I could just chat with like people on the road, I'd be like, hello, like I want to know you. But other than that, getting to go and have that experience with my son, even though he's at the age where, he's mostly with his friends, it's still always fun, like at the end of the night to like come back and like, he'll sit there and like just chat with me and stuff like that. And so I really appreciate that time, especially with him, because it feels like we don't often get that much like alone time. And it was actually very cute. I forgot to write this down on my I'm grateful for stuff, and I was like, I really want to go back and do that. But last night we used to do these like little game things on his, like mind game kind of things on his phone, and we haven't done it in a while. And I had told him like a few weeks ago, I'm like, oh, I miss doing that with you. It was a fun time with you. And I was pooped last night, just so pooped. Like I had all my stuff on my bed to do like more work, and I just was like laying there. I couldn't work anymore. Just poop, just mentally and physically drained. And he was like, do you want to do this thing with me? And I was like, I'm like, I don't even think I could think right now. Like I was just honest. I was like, well, okay. I'm like, which one was it again? And then he told me, and I was like, okay, let's try. And we did it. We did it in like 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes. And see, I'm so tired. I don't know why, but yeah, so we did it, and I was so grateful that he like chose to spend that time with me and chose to do something with me. So that made me really excited and happy, and I felt very grateful. And speaking of the grateful, like I was talking with my daughter, and she was saying, she had this assignment to do the gratitude journal. And, you know, I had to tell her, you know, and she was like, and then I would start, and then I would think of like all these things I was grateful for, and then would kind of taper off. I'd forget to do it again and forget to go back to it. And, you know, she found an approach. Her and her boyfriend ended up before night, kind of like how we do our best at dinner. Like they ended up going through and being like, well, what are you grateful for today at before bed? And I was like, that is so sweet. I love that idea. You know, and then I shared, yeah, the same experience with me. Like I really last year was trying to work on like incorporating like gratitude, like writing it, like not just giving it, but like, you know, like recording it some form, you know, acknowledging it, like, and I just couldn't find a medium or a way that worked for me. I tried in paper, I tried on my phone, like nothing stuck, TikTok. Nothing took. And so, you know, coming up with this idea of, I had all these extra large mason jars. I was like, what am I going to do with these? Like, why did I even buy these? I think I did it on accident. And once I got those and like, I was like, okay, well, let me just try this. And I had all these sticky Post-it notes from my aunt. I was like, let me just write them and put them in here. And like, it sticks. I put on a different color of paper on the evening. And like, I just have a little system and a plan. And 99.9% of the time I do it. And so most of the time I even have so many things I'm grateful for that I am like, I have to narrow it down to just this little sticky, which is great for me because I'm not like notorious for being concise. So, and then today I had like so many nice things happen too. I would imagine like I ran into another friend and she was like, just when I thought you couldn't get, she's actually another neighbor too. Just when I thought you couldn't get any skinnier, you've gotten skinnier. And I was like, well, thank you. That is such a nice compliment. And again, like I just reiterated, I'm like, there's nothing different. Nothing I'm doing differently physically beyond the fact that I am now like releasing these emotional barnacles that I have allowed to, you know, congregate on my body because I think there was so much pain and turmoil and trauma and, you know, upset and anger and all these things. And it needed to go somewhere, like, you know, like, and so it just stored itself on my body. But now that I'm releasing it, it just is like, it's almost like I feel freer. I feel lighter. I feel like, yes, this is what's making sense. So that she was lovely and talked to me. My other friend at the gym tonight, which made me glad that I did go. She had promised me like last year, like, oh, okay, I'll give you a cut of this succulent. Which one do you like? And I was like, oh, this one with the pink and everything is so beautiful. And so today I came in and she had this little bag for me with 3 beautiful, which again, I was just in this succulent mood today. And a couple days ago, I love it. I love my little, succulent arrangement on my windowsill. Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. And now I have one from my dear friend at the gym, Marisol. And I was like, thank you so much. Which again, Marisol, funny story with her, how her and I even became friends was I was in a rental car, which was it was Chris's rental, but it wasn't, but I was driving it to the gym and I didn't know if he got the insurance. Usually he doesn't get the insurance. And so she went to go park in a spot and then she backed up and I was like, I honked because I was like, I don't care if you hit my car, but just don't hit the rental, right? Like this, and I'm in the rental and I'm not wanting the spot. I literally park in the back of the gym. So I honk at her and then she turns and looks and I was like, oh no, she's in my class. That's embarrassing. And I was just like, okay, just melt in the car. And so I park or whatever, I come back. And then she came up to me and then she was like, did you honk at me? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't get the insurance. And, you know, I would try to explain to her, like, I'm so sorry. I wouldn't care if you hit my car, but I just didn't want you to hit the rental car. And then I'd have to deal with all that and you know, she just, it became this like joke. So every time I saw her, I was like, honk, honk. But you're so sweet, such a sweet lady. And like, so everything was fine or whatever after that. But I felt so embarrassed about that. But so she brought me these 3 cuttings of this succulent. And I'm so excited because I actually had made this like big one outside, this huge arrangement, because everything, it was like in a terracotta pot and everything I've tried to plant in there flower wise, it looks great in the beginning, but I think it just gets too freaking hot for its roots. And so it just doesn't take. and like they'll start to, I love impatiens as well, and they just won't stay. So I ended up pulling out all the impatiens, and then I ended up putting in a bunch of the succulents that I can have just are overgrowing and flowing in the garden. So I put those in there too, and I'm so excited. So every time I look at it, I can think of Sweet Marisol. And I was just telling my daughter too, and I was rearranging some of my other geraniums I love just because they're super, super easy, right? They just come back. And so I was moving one, and my daughter's boyfriend, I had always said, like, I do sometimes like flowers. Like recently I've been like, I really want to get tulips and just have them on my windowsill, which made me excited about doing the succulent because it was some kind of life, and I'm leaving out of town, so I didn't bother. But it's a random urge I want to do, and I just wanted like pretty, and I wanted life. And there's a house up the street that has all these tulips that just popped up, so they're like really on my mind. And anyways, I saw all that to say, my daughter's boyfriend had bought me for Mother's Day a plant, a flowering geranium, and I love that because I was replanting it today, and I was like, and see, every time I see this, I think of that person. And so while I think like cut flowers are gorgeous, I mean, some of them are just, some arrangements are just heavenly. They have such like a short lifespan that I'd much rather myself, I always say, like, don't buy me flowers, literally go buy me a rose bush, or some kind of a flower or plant or succulent. And then every time I see it, then after, like for years to come, I will always think of you. And so I think that that's like such a special thing. And like I learned to garden from my grandma, and so whenever I'm out there, I feel this connection and closeness with her. So I say all that to say I've had so much fun. I actually, towards the end here, feel like I have gotten a second life of breath in me, and I feel really grateful for this. So I'm so glad I got to be here today. I'm so glad I get to be honest and say, hey, yeah, some days are just amazing, and today was an amazing day. There was nothing that went wrong. Everything went absolutely right, but I still feel a little blah, and that's okay. Like, and I still showed up. That's my rule, is you still show up. You still get your bare minimums in, and you don't have to be the best that day. You just have to be your best. Okay. So I was my best today. I hope you were your best too. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you because you have given me extra life tonight to get me through that hot shower and get to lay back in bed, and maybe I'll even just relax and watch a show. Who knows? I'll be crazy. Who knows? So thank you so much. Have a great day. And if you can just do me one favor, go out there, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and sit back and watch how they glow up. Thank you. Bye.